not too long ago, I had a thought. Does everyone need a flagship phone? What with Samsung and their Ultra devices and OnePlus with their Pro devices that they've had in the past, and now the OnePlus 12 and the OnePlus Open. Is there another option for consumers who don't want to spend upwards of $900 to $1,000 on a device? Well, most manufacturers do come out with a mid-range and lower tier of devices for consumers. And I was curious and wanted to try it out for myself. So I picked up the OnePlus Nord N20. I've been using this phone for about a month now, and I have some thoughts. So today what I'm going to do is talk about the specifications on the phone. I'm going to go over what I liked about the phone, what I didn't like about the phone, and at the very end of the video, I'm going to tell you whether or not I think this might be a good fit for you. So first things first, let's talk about the age of the OnePlus N20. The OnePlus N20 came out in 2022, making it an almost 2-year-old device. Originally, it was running Android OS 11 with Oxygen OS 11 as a skin. For an entry-level phone, this device had and still has some pretty decent specs. You're looking at a Qualcomm Snapdragon 695, which is a 5G chipset, a Qualcomm Adreno GPU, 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage, which you can upgrade because this does have an option for an SD card in it. You can unlock the phone with fingerprint, facial recognition, or PIN code passcode. You've got a 4,500 milliamp hour battery and 33 watt supercharging. So we've talked about the specifications, which sure, they're mid-range specs at best. As I said, this phone came out 2 years ago. Now, before I get into my likes and dislikes about this phone, I need to make an exception here. This device is network unlocked. However, this particular variant of the N20 is from T-Mobile. So there are some things that I cannot do on this phone that other versions of this phone can do. The main thing is I am stuck on Android 12. I can't upgrade to Android 13 or 14 because T-Mobile has locked the bootloader on this and I can't do anything about it. I thought about trying to play around with it just to see. There's an option to unlock the bootloader, but the install file for Android 13 for this device is for a slightly different variant, and I don't know if the modems are correct, so I didn't want to go through that. With that out of the way, things that I like about the OnePlus N20. Number one, battery life. I normally get up at about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, unplug my phone, and go through my day. When I was using the Samsung Z Flip 3 and my previous phones, I was running into issues where there would be times around 6 or 7 o'clock where I'd have to plug in, or on my commute to and from work, I would just drop it on the wireless charger in the car. The OnePlus N20 doesn't have that problem. I unplug at 6:30. I go throughout my day. I use my phone for photography, listening to music, playing games, all kinds of stuff. And I can make it all the way until I'm laying down at night, which is around 11 o'clock. And most times I have 32% battery. I've only had 1 or 2 exceptions to this case where I was playing on the phone so much and shopping on eBay and just having the phone in my hand, fiddling with it, that it dropped down to 19% at around 10 o'clock. But even then, I wasn't worried, because that brings me to my next thing that I like about this device, which is the fast charging. At a 33 watt fast charge, this device can go from 0 to 50 in about 20 minutes and get completely charged in 75 minutes. The difference between the two charge states is that as the device gets closer and closer to 100%, it slows down and starts to trickle charge the battery to keep the battery lasting longer. Another pro for me for this device, but oddly something I haven't taken advantage of yet, is the expandable memory. You can pull the SIM card tray out, and there's an expandable SD card slot. This thing already has 128 gigs in it, and it will hold my 230 plus apps, plus pictures and text messages. So I don't really use it, but it's nice to know that it is there if I do. For a 2-year-old device running an outdated version of Android, this phone is quite snappy. I do, on occasion, get some apps that get a little boggy, but I can close things down, and if I have to, reboot the phone, and everything's fine. I have tested playing mobile games on this, and once you get past the loading screen of Call of Duty, this game will play really well. I've had very, very few issues with any kind of lagging in the game, and any kind of issues I've had relating to the game have been because I've had to download maps or weapons or what have you, and that did take that took a while comparatively. But once you're in the game mode, no problems whatsoever. Another thing I like about the OnePlus N20 is the vibrate motor. Now, with my Samsung device, sometimes I do not feel notifications going off in my pocket. I do not have that problem with the OnePlus. The vibrate motor is loud and strong, so I have been receiving more of my notifications in a more timely manner. And of course, the last thing I like about this device is the price. Now, originally when this thing was new, it was around $250, $300. But if you wanted to pick up a OnePlus N20 right now for yourself, they are selling refurbished on Amazon for $150. I do have an affiliate link in the description below if you're interested. With all the good stuff that this phone has, I'm going to talk about the things that I didn't like about this phone. Some of these are like super nitpicky because I really don't have a problem using this phone, which I thought that was pretty mind-blowing considering what I do here on YouTube and what I do for a living. The first thing that I don't like about this particular device is the fact that it's T-Mobile locked. As I mentioned before, I can't upgrade past Android 12 or Oxygen 12, so I'm stuck there. Again, some of these other variants of this device can do that. My advice to you is if you're interested to do your homework and make sure that yours can upgrade, there's actually a OnePlus Upgrader app you can get and download that will allow you to upgrade the phone even past what OnePlus is putting out. Mine will not do that, but that's like the biggest real gripe that I have with this. Another thing that I'm not a huge fan of with the entry-level series of devices from OnePlus versus their flagship devices is the update cycle. So on their flagship line, like the OnePlus 12 and their Pro models, you get 5 years of guaranteed software updates from OnePlus. With entry-level devices such as the OnePlus N20, you're only going to get 3 years. Now, for people who want to be on the latest and greatest, that can be a hindrance. But for somebody like your mom or dad, or one of your kids who just needs a phone to communicate and talk to their friends and things like that, probably not a big deal. So when you get an entry-level phone versus when you pay for a flagship phone, one of the things typically that you're going to sacrifice in making this decision is camera quality. Now, the OnePlus N20 on paper has some really great cameras on it. However, in my experience, using the camera on this device at night, even with night mode turned on, can give you varying results. One of the things I was actually happy with this camera is macro mode. I've taken some pretty cool looking shots with the macro camera. And on the whole, the camera's not that bad. It's just really like night shots and any kind of like action shots you're trying to take. This is probably not the camera to do that with if that's what you're aiming for. So there's another thing that OnePlus has in Oxygen OS that was a little confusing at first. It's a feature in Oxygen OS called Shelf. And when you pull down from the top on any Android phone, you're going to get the notification shade. That'll show you any kind of recent notifications and how to change like Bluetooth, turn on and off, and things like that. OnePlus has one where if you swipe down from right to left, you pull down the shelf. Now, the shelf is kind of cool once you understand what it is, but kind of confusing at first when you're just trying to swipe from the top of the screen to see notifications. I initially was pulling this thing down more often than I was seeing my notifications. But if you think about shelf like this, on your Samsung devices, on the newer operating systems, you have the ability to stack widgets. So you can cycle through the different widgets on your phone. This gives you a static page that you can edit and add different widgets to. So on mine, I have my music app, I have my notes app, I have things to check the weather, things to check my calendar, things of that nature. It's really handy now that I know how to use it, but it was really confusing at first. Again, just a really nitpicky thing. One of the things that I miss about going from my Z Flip to the N20 is wireless charging. In their entry-level devices, OnePlus does not include wireless charging. That being said, they also didn't include wireless charging in the OnePlus Open, which is their most expensive phone. That was a design choice on their end. It's pure economics on their entry-level devices. I do miss that from time to time, but I don't really need it. Between the 4500 milliamp hour battery and the fast charging, I never, ever need to use wireless charging when I'm on the go. If I do, or if I'm streaming music on a long trip, I can just plug it right in, but I have not had that issue. And the absolute final thing that I just don't like about this phone, there's only one speaker. It's right down here at the bottom. So anytime you're listening to music and you kind of are watching videos and you put it into landscape mode here, you could potentially be blocking your speaker, and it just takes a little bit of getting used to. Not a deal breaker, obviously, because I'm using the phone still. So as I said at the beginning of the video, this is the point where I say, is the OnePlus N20 right for you? Well, that totally depends. Are you someone who has to have the latest and greatest updates, the absolute fastest device, and a long-term upgrade scale? If so, then no, this is not for you. But if you're someone who needs a phone for communication, for keeping up on social media, taking decent photos, and wants a long battery life with really fast charging, yeah, I think you could totally rock this phone. As a matter of fact, I've been using it, like I said, for an entire month now. The only thing I've missed about my Z Flip has been the wireless charging. The OnePlus N20 has been an absolute fantastic phone. So I would say weigh your options. Do a little research and see for yourself. I picked this one up used on eBay for a little bit less than what the Amazon link has it for. But again, mine is locked to T-Mobile as far as the operating system goes. My personal opinion on the OnePlus N20 is that it's a great phone, and it could be a great phone for you. If you have any questions about anything I've talked about today, please leave me a comment down below. I do try to answer every single comment you guys leave, and I'm very appreciative for the input. As always, my name is Bryant. This is Reviews for Nerds. Have a great day.